Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News. We are a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and typically we have beer of the week. This week, we have a special bonus Creator Corner interview episode with Haydes from ASAP Imagination. We're going to chat some really exciting things. You might have heard of what gig we've been talking about it. Well, we're going to go in depth a little bit more. We're going to talk about the company and of course, as always, if you want to find us and you have just stumbled upon us somehow, then Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform. Same with social media. Go ahead, go there. If you want to support the show, hopsgeeknews.threadless.com for merch and then patreon.com/hopsgeeknews. So it's like 7 in the morning my time. I'm not drinking beer. Lauren, you're probably drinking coffee.
Correct.
Yeah. Hey,
I
that's how
still
that
got that.
happens.
We froze a ton of the pumpkin creamer, the almond pumpkin creamer. So I've still got a few cartons left. So
I just
I just
finished my
got,
last one. It's pretty
oof,
depressing.
I'm sorry to hear
A
that.
s-
You
a s-
should have stocked up more. Our fridge was like
I
full
did.
in like November or our
I
freezer.
I had like 7 of that, and I had like 7 of the peppermint mocha one too, because I
Mm,
like that one a lot too. But I'm down to my last little things. So I'm not letting go. I'll never let go,
yeah.
Jack.
Well, we're out of Christmas coffee. That ended last month.
I'm about out of that too. Man, what a
What
downer.
a
Dang,
sad world we
jeez.
live in.
What's the point of
February is
living
just
anymore?
depressing.
Well, like I said, we have a special guest over here. So Hades, welcome to the show, man. Introduce
Thank you.
yourself and how's it going?
Oh, it's good. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, as you say, I'm Haydes. I'm the guy who started like ASAP Imagination. Also from the drinking front, I'm a Guinness boy. 'Cause I'm from an Irish
Hell
family,
yeah.
Right.
so I am a bona fide Guinness boy. It is my tipple of choice. Um, as long as the pubs are good, because you get some places and it's if you've got a head on it that's this big, you go no, no thank you.
Yeah.
I'll try something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Guinness. I love Guinness. But yeah, so I started ASAP in 2020. I know you had Laurie on the show previously, and she was the first person I spoke to about it in general, really. Um, Previously, I decided I wanted to be a comic book writer. I wanted to kind of put my stuff out there, and then I submitted a comic that I'd written, and the artist was a guy called Kyle Wright, and we'd submitted it to a recognised, publisher. Never heard back, and then I just thought, okay, I'm going to do this myself. Then it's fine. This is okay. And then I started the business actually through a program that the government had got at the time, where they were allowing you to start like a small business,
Oh, nice.
and give you like an assist. And I think I was a bit of an anomaly to them, because most people were, I want to be a painter and decorator, I want to be a mobile hairdresser. And then you've got this bearded idiot who turns up and goes, I want to do comics. So I joined the program, and then ended up becoming like a weird poster child for it, because they ended up, long story short, I ended up getting a call from the head office of the section of the government that do this program. I was interviewed by them. I was interviewed by a newspaper, and then they made a mini documentary and animated. They animated this.
Wow,
Um,
really?
yeah.
Oh, so it's an
Um,
animated documentary?
It's only a very small one. Yeah, the guy wanted to do something bigger, and he was like, "Oh, we'll get you to come over and sit in a comic book shop." And I was like, "That's really nice, but one, I'm not Stan Lee. I'm really, I feel a bit pretentious sitting there and going, well, my journey began like it just didn't feel right, and plus we were in a pandemic, so I'm going nowhere."
Oh,
So
yeah.
Right.
yeah, so he then came up with the idea to um, get one of the artists who was with us at the time, Sarah, to draw me. So what we did is I had an interview with him on a Zoom call. He sent the audio to me. I sent it to her. She drew out basically what I was saying. We sent it to them, and then they coloured it and animated it, and then kind of put it out there. It was surreal.
That's
It was
rad. Can
so
we
bizarre.
can you find it anywhere? Is it still out
It,
there?
it yeah, it's on our so if you go to our TikTok, it's literally the first thing on our TikTok.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, I mean, the instruction to Sarah was, please make this look good, because I'm very aware of what my face looks like. So, and I didn't have a huge beard then. So I was like, please make me look more manly. That would be splendid. And she did, and it was great. And yeah, and they made it, and then they put it out there, and it was the most surreal experience.
Oh
I
yeah.
became like a weird cartoon.
Because you just wanted to, you just wanted to make some comic books. You never thought that somebody would be like, wow, this is something we should definitely animate. Number one. Number two,
Yeah.
like talk about more and gain interest from a government program, so to speak, of all. Because, most of the times when they look down on things like, oh, that's childish. Oh, comic books are this. But really,
Hmm.
it's like, wow, you were
Yeah.
kind of that. Oh, you're not just being a typical hairdresser. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was something different. And now
Yeah.
it started a whole big thing, which there's a lot going on with you guys, which is pretty awesome.
It is. It's grown. So it's been, the last 2 years have been insane. I went from being a consultant to, I didn't have the big beard. I had to wear a suit and go into work every day and be like, "Good morning, how are you?" And
Ugh,
all that. Yeah, don't.
yeah.
It's it's not for me. But obviously, I'm a parent, so it was like, pay the bills, go and see, go and do what you got to do. And then obviously when everything changed, I, like many people, lost the jobs. Yeah, life happens. And then I just thought, I've got time. I've got time to do this. And then I'd written a comic, I already got that. And then I knew that I wanted to expand on this world. So I spoke to Laurie and said to her, "Look, I've got this idea for this whole world, and I've got it centers around this event. Can we, do you want to work together? She's a writer, I'm a writer. Do you want to do a book together?" So we did this anthology called Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue, which I know she showed you when she was on. And that's how we launched. And we launched in August of 2020 with the book and the comic at exactly the same time. And it was a surreal kind of experience to do that. And she wasn't a comic book person. She is now. She wasn't at the time. I kind of, I refer to it as lovingly corrupted her. I said, give it a try. And obviously, she then written the one story that I love, which then became Sister Grimm as a title. But it started with Messiah, which is a comic about a guy who is experimented on and has these healing abilities, but there's a flaw to it. So he can take the injury from someone else, and he kind of absorbs it. But the problem is he can't heal himself.
Oh,
So it's that idea of, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Someone could be there with a fatal wound, and he's like, I can't.
yeah.
And it's that idea of, are you willing? How far are you willing? If it's a cut, so he's
Right.
very
Like you would take
banded
it from your
with it.
kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, who would you be willing to sacrifice for?
Yeah. And again, it was like he's bandaged. He's in a hoodie. I didn't want to have the kind of costumed, righteous guy. I wanted this guy to be torn, and I wanted him to look, like he might have helped people before and is now kind of regretting it. And, so he's constantly covered in bandages and cuts and bruises and things like that. And then we expanded more from that world, and we got a guy called David Howard. He wrote a title called OPSEC, which is like a government agency. It's kind of,
Yeah.
I think, like X Files, that kind of
Oh,
aspect.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously Laurie with Sister Grimm, and then I wrote Dead of Night, which is a comic about a hero. So pre-event, he was very kind of, shining knight. He was, because everything takes place in the UK. So he was like our Captain America, if you will. Didn't wear a mask and was open and honest with who he was, and had got this beautiful like lineage of knights, of kind of ancestry. And then the event drove him insane, and just destroyed the man that he was. So he then destroyed his own family's. They've got an exhibition and it's like all the suits and all this stuff. So he kind of destroys all of that and then makes himself this makeshift armor and becomes violent, So
It
there's a lot.
seems like what I like a lot about what you guys' stories is they deal with supernatural elements, but they
Now,
also add humanity to them, right? It's
Mm.
making a choice, and there's always something deeper there, and they struggle with those moralities.
Yeah, I love stuff like that though. I like layers as much as you can get.
Yeah, and people most often won't. They go to
mhm.
comic books maybe, and they don't expect to find something like that, but it's also something that sucks you in. I know, at least for me personally, pretty fast
Yeah,
when it's like, oh wow, there's more than just beautiful, colorful pages. It's this person's struggling to deal with something that we can all kind of relate to at a time, or but they shouldn't be dealing with it because they're this heroic kind of being almost.
yeah. There's this wonderful
But
excuse me.
it
There's
makes
this
it more
wonderful grey
okay
area.
for us to not be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. And I think as I've grown up, and so I've been a comic book fan since I was 8, and I'm above 39 now. Let's just say that I'm in my 40s now. Um, and I've been a comic book fan a long time, and it's amazing how your tastes change. I started with the very colourful and very kind of dynamic kind of the Fantastic
Mm.
Four and Spider-Man and and then as you grow up, Hellboy, Authority, things get darker, and that's
Mhm.
what I wanted, and I love an anti-hero, and I love that kind of conflicted thing. But what I wanted to build, and with Laurie and Dave's help, and now many others, I wanted a world where you could come into it from different points. So if you weren't a fan of espionage, like with OPSEC, you might find your way in with Sister Grimm, with the kind of big supernatural. Um, if you wanted, if you liked an anti-hero, you might find your way in with Dead of Night, and then if you weren't even a comic book fan, you'd find your way in with a prose book at the beginning. So all these different ways, and then I created a character who's online. Um, so he's called the Conjector, and he's our conspiracy theorist, and
See.
he is on our YouTube channel. So we've got one video with him at the moment, but we're bringing him, like, we've kind of re-energized him for this year, and he's like, he'll do anonymous podcasts, and the idea is that this character is someone in these comics. He's someone in this world, but where is he,
Mhm.
and who is he, and so on and so forth. And the aim is we're going to do some videos, and the aim is to actually have him on podcasts and breaking the fourth wall. So you
That's
could
kind
have
of
the
funny.
Conjector come on here, and talk as if he's directly from that world and stuff
That's
like
a good
that.
idea. That's something that's like out of the box. That's really
Yeah,
that's a cool idea.
I love to play with how
Well,
people
yeah,
can.
that is fun. Like,
Sorry, go on.
no, you're good.
Oh,
You love to play.
yeah, I like to play with how people can get into it. We also have a character called Foe, and he's recognizable by his mask. So his clothing changes. Um,
Mhm.
Essentially, I joke about this, but it's true. Essentially, what I want is the cheapest cosplay you could possibly get, because all you need is the mask and you're done. But what we created was a downloadable version of his mask off the website, so you can download it for free,
Ah.
print it out, and we did a campaign last year, a promotion called Friend of Foe. So it's hashtag Friend of Foe. And what we said to people was download the mask, cut it out, put it on, send us your pictures, hashtag Friend of Foe, we'll send you some freebies. And I thought I might get a couple. I got
Mhm.
loads of people
Oh wow,
were
really?
sending me all these, yeah, were sending me all these pictures with these masks on. And it became just this great way of it. Again, it's like, it's yourself. We like participation. We like to be involved.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and if you can step into that world in any way, then yeah. So we did that, and again, it was just another fun way of doing it. And
Mhm.
then since May of last year, we've been fortunate enough to bring out a comic title of our main world every month.
Mhm.
So we went from Messiah and Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue, but from May we were able to do one a month, and now we've got Messiah, Dead of Night, OPSEC, Sister Grimm, Whole. And with that one, the first issue is all first person. It's all seen through the eyes of the main character. We have got Points of Villainy Part 1, 2, 3, where we've taken some of the stories from the book and turned them into comics. And then we're doing the same with Virtue. And then we're going to be releasing a title called Person, which is spelled P-U-R-S-O-N. And we're launching that this year as well. And that's all one world.
So if somebody wanted to dip their toe in this world, but because honestly, when I first got into comic books, I walked into a comic book shop and I was very overwhelmed. I had no idea where to start.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to get into this world, where do you recommend they go, and what do you recommend they start with?
I would recommend if you're a reader, then start with a book. If you're more of a comic book fan, then you can start with the Points of Villainy trilogy. Yeah, so we've got Points of Villainy Part 1, 2 are out at the moment, and 3 is coming out this month. But again, it's one of those things where if one of the titles appeal to you, because we tie in everywhere, there's Easter eggs, it kind of doesn't really matter. So if Sister Grimm, for example, appeals to you, you'll get hints of the others. For example, when D.W. Howard, when Dave wrote OPSEC issue 1, one of the first scenes is these agents are in this van and they're driving to this location, and the radio's playing in the background, and on the radio they're talking about the conjector.
That's cute.
I like that. Yeah. I like it.
So there's all these little Easter eggs, and all these little things that tie in. And the aim is we're doing each title gets a 4-issue arc, with the exception of the 2 trilogies, but everything gets a 4-issue arc, and to establish them within the world first. And then after the 4-issue, that's when we're going to start really crossing things over. Gotcha. Messiah could be face to face with Sister Grimm, or nice. The OPSEC team could face off against the Dead Knight and stuff like that. So the aim is to just keep expanding.
Right. But you can still enjoy standalone things. It just makes it better when you get all the Easter eggs. Because I feel like for some people, like, we want more and more and more. And for some people, they're like, this is too much. So I feel like that's good to have both ways. But anybody who is listening, whenever you hear Laurie Cunningham or Sister Grimm, if you're interested more in that, we did interview her in December. We sat down with her. So you can just find that episode, Laurie Cunningham. It's on YouTube. It's on all our podcasting platforms. And we also end it with a little Mickey's Christmas Carol fun facts and whatnot. So that was a fun, festive episode. And at one point, Matt asked Laurie a question. I thought he said Lauren, and I answered, and he just let me roll with it.
I know, I watched that episode. It's great. What I do as well is whenever someone ASAP has been on a podcast, we've got a playlist of like ASAP interviews, and it's actually on there as well. So, and then once with this one, it will be added as well, because I want people to see, because there's a few of us, and obviously we've got different platforms.
Right.
It's nice to say, here's everything in one place, and also go and support these podcasts as well.
Yeah, I'm going to do that on our YouTube channel. I'm going to create an interview playlist.
That's a good
idea. Good idea. I should have already done that.
This reminds me, you guys also recently started up something that, kind of helps network a lot of people as well. Gig, which just recently launched on the 1st of February. What you've been a busy man, pretty much. Very busy. So we know what Gig is, but what is Gig exactly?
So Gig popped in my head as an idea of kind of centralizing everything that a creator might need. I know we can find things on social media, but sometimes, and kind of going off what you said there, Lauren, sometimes if there's too much and there's too many things going on, it can get a bit overwhelming. So people might be able to go on social media and ask a question like, where's a good artist, and so on and so forth. But then the problem is these things can get muddy. People can weigh in with opinions. People can do all this kind of stuff. And what I wanted to do was create a place where people could, in their own time, find what they needed. So the concept with gig is you can start with conception of idea. So you can have a single idea, and you can go onto gig, and within there you can find everything you need from start to finish. So you can find writers, you can find editors. If it's a comic, you can find artists, you can find publishers, you can promote it using things like podcasts like yourselves. You can get crowdfunding. We've partnered with Crowdfunder, so you can also get crowdfunding. And if you want to write it yourself and not sure where to begin, we've got a training section where you can speak to a wonderful man called Morgan Quaid, who can train you as a writer and help you and guide you and things like that. So it's everything you need in one place, and you can comfortably just go around and get what you need. If it's not comics, again, the writers and editors also work in prose. There's publishers there that are prose friendly. There's film companies, indie film companies, that you can, if you want to be a film writer, do scripts, you can speak with them. And then there's videographers as well. So if you want to promote, if you want to create videos on your social media and things like that, they're there as well. So it's literally everything a creative would need.
And can they pick and choose which services they use? Like, let's say, okay, I just need to find an artist, but I always use Kickstarter, so I'm going to take it over here. So they can do what they need to do?
Yes.
Or just take what they want to take? Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, so if it's, for example, because people can be featured on there, we've got two accounts. So we've just got the main account where you can go in, everything's unlocked once you create that account. Everything's unlocked, so you can just shop around and take your time. But also, if you want to be featured on gig, then there's a business account that you can have. And what I'd say to people on that front is we take no percentage off the top. So if, for example, an artist has a deal with someone, and let's just say, argument's sake, it's $500, gig takes nothing. The deal is done outside of gig. It's just a place to centralize things for people.
To meet.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And, once the deal is made, it's made between the artist and the customer. We don't get involved. I don't want to take, because I know certain places will take 4.5% to 5% off the top of all deals.
Oh yeah, they want to get involved and meddle in it, and it's well, we are the reason why you guys met up, so we owe a cut and blah blah blah.
Yeah, we don't do that. I mean, there's just no point. It to me just felt wrong. Someone suggested I should do it, and I was like, no, because I've been a writer and been paid for work, and you kind of go, no, I did this. Go, shoot, it's kind of like
right.
And I think that it, like I say, having everything there with a level of comfort means you don't feel pressured, you don't feel overwhelmed. You can find what's right for you, because some podcasts might work more on prose. They're not for you, and sometimes you have to reach out and spend time to find all of these things out. I know from my point of view that when we started this, a good 60% of my time was taken up running around trying to find things that were relevant to what we were doing as well. So but if it's there and it's comfortable and you can take your time, perfect, no pressure and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's always a question for us whenever we have a comic book creator on that's an indie comic book creator. How'd you get started? Where'd you find the people? How'd you use? And, a lot of them, like we have one guy, Frank Martin, who's been on here many times, and all his stories are very different. So he uses a different artist for most of them. And so he's got to find the artist from the get-go. So that's nice to simplify the process, because we have every piece of information at the tip of our fingers, but we don't know how to access it all. And I feel like as grown-ups, you think you're supposed to know how to do all of it, and you don't. Like, you have to, we spend so much time figuring out what we need to do. We don't spend enough time doing what we actually need to do.
Yeah, it's completely correct. It's one, because I mean we've got like our second publisher platform where we publish for the creators, which is called the Anyone World, and I think gig was an extension of that idea in my head, because when we started it and we were publishing for people, We have our submissions and where you can come in and so on and so forth. And you get questions like, well, what if I haven't got a cover, or what if I need an editor, or what if this, what if it? So I created within the Anyone world where they could get that from us should they need to. If they wanted to go elsewhere, they could go elsewhere and get it. And so, Gig became an extension of that. It just became I think the Anyone world was the catalyst of that in my head. Because it is, you don't always think of these things. You go, I've got a great idea. I've got a book. Okay, has it been edited? Yeah, have you thought this out? Have you got a cover? Have you got a genre? Have you got a market? All of these questions, and I found them out the hard way, which is also why I'm very
And you
grey
just
on
want to
this
be a
side.
creative.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. But I was again, I got Laurie involved in Gig, and a wonderful guy called George Medina, who is a podcaster and a comic book creator, a friend of mine. And with their help, we're going to really kind of push Gig forward and help as many people as we can.
Yeah, and I almost feel like you don't see that a lot with indie comics. Like you see everybody promoting their Kickstarter, and it gets kind of cutthroat out there sometimes because it either goes one way. Like I'll see some people that are really supportive of other indies, and then others that are just kind of living in their own bubble. Whereas we should all be, promoting each other. It's one of those things that we should be doing. We should lift each other up, all of that kind of thing. So it's really nice to see you guys have a centralized way of doing that and just making it easy because like Lauren was saying, it is more often than not, you spend more time figuring out how to navigate to get where you're going versus like, then you're just tired and like, God, I don't want to do this anymore. And so having that initiative, I know I've been browsing on there and it looks like a really, really amazing
Thank you.
time. And for somebody like me who wants to get into writing comic books, you have an avenue to learn how to do that. So it's, if people haven't checked it out, globalindiegroup.com, that's where you should be going and really check this out because it is something that has been long overdue in this realm of the universe.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate, because obviously the first time I spoke with yourselves was a call over gigs. So I'm very grateful for everyone involved, and I'm grateful for the two of you as well. It's I often say to people that they don't understand that podcasts and podcasters are it's such a necessary tool in what we do. Like people don't, I think people don't appreciate sometimes how much it can really help us, how much it can really push us out there, and the beauty is it's not a difficult thing. You go on and you get to talk about things that you love with nice people. So it's it's this this brilliant tool where you speak to brilliant people comfortably. Get on the podcast, people. Jesus.
Yeah. And it's fun to connect and make
and
friends too,
free,
I feel like.
Yeah,
and it's free.
I mean, I don't know, some podcasts aren't, but
yeah,
I mean,
but
most of the time, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and again, it's like I have a great time on podcasts and talking to them, and as I say, supporting them, and Laurie, when she came off yours, she said to me afterwards, she said, I had a great time. And she goes, plus we got to, talk Christmas films and Disney and stuff like
that. Well, we definitely love, just getting people on and sharing and giving a platform. Just homies help homies is how I live by, essentially.
Yeah.
And so if we can do that anyway, and as we start to wrap this up though, Haydes, can you let everybody know, like, where can they find ASAP? Where can they find you specifically? Where, like, any sort of, if somebody wants to write a comic, what is some good advice on how to start?
Sure. Yeah. So you can find us pretty much everywhere with just ASAP Imagination, with the exception of Facebook. I, for some reason, cannot update Facebook. I might be shutting the group down to like restart it because it's under our old name. So obviously, when I started it, the name was ASAP Comics UK, and then obviously as we grew, and I'm the only one in the UK, it was like, okay, maybe change the name.
Yeah.
So, but everywhere else, so TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, it's ASAP Imagination. And then it's for our comics, it's asapimagination.com. We do digital as well, so you can get print and digital from us. So that's fine. We publish for other creators on our Anyone World platform. So it's anyoneworld.com for that. You can see the people that we've already published, and then there is a submissions page. Also, even though it's not comics technically, but we have a children's book platform as well, where we publish for the small people, and that's called asapminis.com. And then obviously, as you said, we've got globalindiegroup.com. Lots of sites.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it's definitely been a pleasure getting to chat with you. Everybody,
You so
seriously, check out their comics. A lot of fun, really great, a lot of color, a lot of story, morality involved. And then globalindiegroup.com. That's one place where everybody should be going to check out and running to, because it's just making your lives easier. This man has revolutionized the way that we do things. And
Thank you.
so we really, really appreciate you having you on. And for everybody else, thanks for following along. Make sure you subscribe, all of that good stuff that we always feel gross saying, but that's how the podcast grows, right? And then that's also how, our
We lose a
friendships
part of our
grow.
soul every time we say it.
Yes, I feel
I know you made
gross,
it.
but do that. And then next week we will be back with another great episode. So until then, everybody, Hades once more time. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.